Have you ever felt uncomfortable in unfamiliar environments, not knowing exactly what to say or to do? Have you ever been offended in the workplace? Better yet, have you ever been in a position to correct one of your colleagues but just didn't know how? If you answered yes to any of these questions, you will enjoy my next guest who teaches us all about etiquette.
Welcome to the Empowerment Zone with Ramona Houston, where we zone in on Black and Brown relations and our journey to empowering our communities.
Today, I have an enlightening conversation with Donna P. Riley, also known as the Etiquette Lady. According to Donna, etiquette is much more than table manners. Etiquette is about how you treat others. And etiquette in the workplace is essential to creating healthy work environments. Listen to learn valuable etiquette skills and practices from Donna P. Riley. Donna P. Riley provides personal and professional development training and coaching, and she's also the author of What is Business Etiquette Anyway? Key Strategies for Building Successful Working Relationships. Enjoy our conversation and see show notes for more about Donna P. Riley. As always, please subscribe to the Empowerment Zone podcast and give us a rating on Apple Podcast. Your support will ensure that we continue our journey in empowerment and impact. Thank you. Hello, today on the Empowerment Zone, we are featuring Donna Paige Riley, who is also known as the Etiquette Lady. As you all know, etiquette is so important in both personal and professional settings. So it's great to have someone on that's talking about etiquette and communication. Welcome to the Empowerment Zone, Donna.
Thank you so much. I certainly want to start out by saying I so appreciate the invitation that you extended to be on your show. So thank you.
Well, here at the Empowerment Zone, we're all about empowerment and impact, and I know that's what you're about too. So it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you.
So, etiquette. First, before we even get into etiquette, tell me a little bit about yourself, and your professional journey and how you even became an expert in etiquette.
Okay, so again, I'm Donna Paige Riley, and I like to say, first of all, I am a servant leader. Okay, I really, really enjoy adding value to others. And I am also a John Maxwell certified leadership speaker, coach, and trainer. And I've been in the coaching and training space now for about 3 decades. And how I actually arrived in that space, when I was younger, I attended a charm and modeling school. And there I learned so many different types of, soft skills, if you will, the grooming, the posture and poise, how to carry yourself, so on and so forth. And I just thought those things were so interesting. And prior to completing that program, the director approached me and asked me if I would be interested in enrolling in their teacher training program. And I thought, why not? Okay. And so I did that. And then I actually started really my training course, I guess, during that particular time, not really realizing the impact of what I was really doing because I was younger. And I would they would have people from different businesses in the community. They would come in and they would do their etiquette training. Well, I would do their etiquette training. And I remember working with a group from Indianapolis Power and Light. And they were just a group of executives, and they wanted them to know how to act and react as they entertain prospective clients. And so I taught them. It was just really cool to me. So, but that was really the start. And it's something that I just continue doing even after I moved to Atlanta. In fact, I moved to Atlanta and opened a charm and modeling school. So I did that for a while. And during that, I was able to really concentrate mainly on youth. And I started working with some of the adults as their parents. So what I did is I actually I created a course for the parents as well as their children. So it was pretty cool. And so that's really how I started. And so for all these years, I just have not been able to, I would get away from it for a little while and look at some other fields in corporate America, and then I would just come right back to it. So I know that that is what I'm supposed to do, is to continue to add value and help others to feel comfortable and confident in any setting.
Isn't it amazing how people, when we're young and we get put in programs and different um, organizations, that helps direct us toward our passion. And for you to be attending a charming and modeling institution, and then that just blossomed into a career on relationships and how to develop relationships, how to treat other people, and this whole aspect of etiquette. And then for you to kind of dibble and dabble in other areas and still come back to etiquette, that just shows that's your passion. And your coaching and training certification from John Maxwell. Wow, we're all such. Well, I know I am a big John Maxwell fan. So I'm sure it's a delight to be a part of his program. So tell us, when you talk about etiquette, people have a certain connotation or belief when they think about etiquette. But it seems to me that you define etiquette in much broader terms. Can you explain that?
Absolutely. Generally, when you even mention the word etiquette, a lot of people, the first thought that they actually have is, oh, I already know how to act when I'm eating at the table. It's just automatic, table manners, but it's so much more in depth than that. Yes, that is part of it. And the reason, and if we're going to talk about even business etiquette, for example, oftentimes companies will invite prospective employees or clients. They will invite them out either for a business lunch or a business breakfast even. And they're doing that not just to treat them to the meal, but they're watching to see what their dining skills are like, how they actually carry themselves, how they interact with others, what are their communication skills. And they do this, determining whether or not this is going to be someone I'm going to hire. For example, if you are a person that when you receive your food, you sprinkle salt or pepper on your food before you even taste it, they're going to actually look at that as being, this person jumps to conclusions. Okay. And you think about it. So how can they do that? Well, you presumed that you were going to need to add those seasonings before you even tasted it. So little tips like that are just so, they're so important to understand. And so that is a perfect example of, why the etiquette is needed or it's looked upon.
Yes,
And
etiquette is so important. To your point, it's so important, especially in the business world. And a lot of us, we're all seeking to achieve our fullest potential in the workplace, and part of that is promotion, right? And being able to interact with different people in different settings. And so your etiquette has a lot to do with whether those doors will be open to you or not, right? Open or closed to you. So can you tell us a little bit about the various definitions of the various aspects, not definitions, aspects of etiquette, like you talked about? It's more than table manners. It's also about relationships. Can you expand on relationships and communication and all the other factors or aspects of etiquette?
Absolutely, absolutely. For example, I have in my book, one of the chapter titles is called "Who Has Time to Be Courteous?" So we know how busy we are, right? We're writing reports, we're trying to, get ready for meetings and so on and so forth. And so sometimes we just may not take the time to be kind or polite, especially if we may be feeling stressed or something. But common courtesies is huge. Just speaking. I have something also in the book that says who should speak first. And many times, if you are of a higher caliber, if you will, in an organization, you may feel that you don't speak first. You have to make sure that others speak to you first. And that is not, that's not good etiquette. It's not proper etiquette, because whoever enters into a room is the person that actually speaks. And so that falls under the definition of common courtesies. And sometimes it is just so, it's so confusing. For example, I remember I worked for an organization, and the CEO and the CFO were a married couple. And so they absolutely did not allow anyone to call them by their first names. Okay. Now, mind you, everybody is, of adult age, right? But they were, no, you have to call me by Mr. or Mrs., whatever the last name is. And so people were kind of feeling a little funny about that, because they were feeling as though they were placing themselves up on a pedestal, right? And it's just a matter of when you have your subordinates, if you will, make them feel as though they are below you, or you're certainly not equal, then you generally have an issue with that. Most people will have an issue. Like, who do they think they are? I mean, we're all grown. I'm probably older than they are. That kind of attitude. And so that's what happens sometimes in the corporate world. Sometimes there can be supervisors or managers that feel as though, it's okay for them to be dominant over employees. Hence, when you start looking at corporate, what I call corporate bullying, and you don't hear that term very often at all, corporate bullying. If you hear bullying, you generally hear bullying when it comes to children at school. Who's the bully today? And, they took my lunch money. But there's also corporate bullying. And I just really want people to understand and to really look at that, because when you have someone who has power, if you will, over you, and what they are doing is they are trying to make sure that everybody understands that you must stay in your particular place, if you will. And there's a problem that creates, an atmosphere where it's just uncomfortable atmosphere. And I find that, and I didn't think about this until I was prepping for a speaking engagement, and they were going to be talking about women who have been sexually harassed, right, at work. And this was just so interesting for me, because I actually experienced that, but I had just pushed it so far down and just had not even thought anything else about it until I was prepping for that. And it just hit me. It's like God dropped in my spirit. Sexual harassment is also bullying. And I don't know about you, but I've never heard that term interfaced with sexual harassment, but that's what it is.
You have a good point about, when you talk about etiquette, it's not just about table manners, but also about common courtesy and how we treat each other. And we're talking about, let's talk specifically about the professional settings, like you're using those examples. And, you know, common courtesy among your colleagues will actually help those colleagues to even be more productive on the job, right?
That's
If they're
right.
not, if they don't feel that they're being, as you called, bullied, corporate bullying, if they're not bullied, you'd probably get more production out of them and have a better workspace and environment. And that's why business etiquette is so important. And to mention that sexual harassment is a component of bullying is a whole nother conversation we already know it's inappropriate etiquette. I mean, it's inappropriate, excuse me, in the business world, but to make that a part of the conversation of business etiquette is also important.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So it appears to me that you're actually empowering others through etiquette training. And so how how do you feel that you're empowering others through etiquette training?
Sure. I believe I am empowering others by helping them, first of all, by just having them to really think about what it truly is. Having them to feel, helping them to feel comfortable and confident in any setting. And that's how to act and how to react. And that, you know, it's basically, you know, it gives you self-esteem and confidence. If you are, for example, if you're in a meeting, okay, and you say you receive a phone call, right? Are you going to just answer the phone? And I've seen it happen. Just, answer your phone, like, no, oh, excuse me, you guys, and just answer your phone and start talking. Are you going to just politely remove yourself and go outside to take your phone call? Or better yet, if you're in a meeting, how about putting your phone on silent or turning it off? That's really the first thing that you should do. But just knowing, what to do and when to do it.
Yeah, cell phone etiquette is also a part of this conversation. It's so, I mean, how many programs have we been in that people are asked to put their phones on silent in the beginning or turn them off, and then they still go off during the session? And it's very distracting for speakers and the audience. I was just in a conference a couple of weeks ago, and a woman had her child in the session, which my mother took me to class and work and all that. That's not the issue, but had their little computer on in the session.
No.
I mean, in the session. And it was like, everybody was like, and she was oblivious to the fact that it was such a distraction. And people could not hear in the session, the people who were actually close to them. And so all of those factor into etiquette when you talk about cell phones, when you talk about computers and electronics, how you treat each other, how you communicate, and like you stated, how you act and react in various situations. You have to have the right type of etiquette when you respond to issues that may be a little challenging or uncomfortable. That doesn't mean that you get out of your I don't even know what word to use. You should still be polite, even if you're correcting someone on a matter.
Right. And if I can add this,
yes.
Talking about correcting someone, I always say, listen, if you have to reprimand someone, you should reprimand them in private.
Yes.
But you can praise them in public.
Yes.
And that is very important. I have not only seen, but heard of so many experiences where the manager or supervisor or whoever, they actually reprimanded someone in front of others. And as though they were children, right? And so that just should never, ever happen. And, it's also not necessarily what you say, but how you say it as well. That is so I cannot stress that enough. I remember in one company, now I was not in human resources, but if there was someone that needed to be corrected, someone who came in, they were dressed inappropriately, any of those types of things, for some reason, they would come to me and ask me if I would speak to that person. And I'm thinking, okay, aren't you the HR person? But I did, because they knew I was going to be very diplomatic, and I was going to reprimand the behavior. And this is another tip: reprimand the behavior and not the person. Okay, because when you actually reprimand the person, then you start to put yourself in a position where you are crushing their spirit. And you don't want to do that. And this is, in a personal or a professional setting. You want to make sure that you're being kind, for whatever you do, you're being kind. So you're being considerate, and you're treating others the way you want to be treated. And that's the golden rule. It's just so simple, and we all learned it pretty much when we were younger, probably in Sunday school. But treat others the way you want to be treated. No one likes to be humiliated or embarrassed. And so we have to put ourselves into their shoes when there is something, an unpleasant message that we have to deliver to them. But it was without fail, they would always come to me and ask me, well, can you go talk to that person? I'm like, okay, because I just, I did not want and never want to deliberately hurt anyone's feelings.
And there's probably a reason that people ask you to do it, is because you were diplomatic in your terms, and diplomacy matters in public settings. Thank you so much for adding expanding on the issue of reprimanding people. Reprimand both the what and the how.
Mm-hmm.
It's how you do it, not just what you say, but how you say it, and also reprimanding the behavior and not the person. One thing that I want to kind of throw out there is, and I do agree with you that in terms of reprimanding, that needs to be done not in public, but be done in a private setting. Totally agree with you on that. However, I do believe, and I want to have a conversation with you about this, about, when people say things inappropriate or incorrect in public, that sometimes those are the opportunities that they have to be corrected in a diplomatic way in public, because some people say some very inappropriate things or do, and we give them permission to do so because everybody remains silent.
That's right.
So I say that to say that there are some times when reprimanding in public does matter, but it's a way to do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is extremely important to learn. That's part of the training as well. You have to learn how to properly reprimand or redirect even. But like you were saying, if you're sitting in a meeting and someone says something that's totally just extremely inappropriate, disrespectful, and no one says anything, then that silence means everybody agrees with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so again, I have found myself in that situation where I may say, okay, so no disrespect. Let's just make sure we understand you correctly, and just kind of review and revisit what you said and maybe say it in a different way. My
point is that some of that has to be done in public. Yes. When you say inappropriate jokes, say inappropriate things about somebody else. You
Yes.
cannot allow people, you cannot give people permission to do that because then they think it's okay to do it.
Yes.
So, but in terms of reprimanding individuals, I totally agree with you that some of those things definitely are more appropriate in private and not in public.
Yes. Yes.
So you referenced your book several times. The name of your book is What is Business Etiquette Anyway? Key Strategies for Building Successful Working Relationships. So tell us about the book, any exciting news about the book? What do you hope to accomplish through the book? Where can we get it? All the great things about your book.
Yes. Well, I'm so excited about this book because it really encompasses so many different things. For example, like I said, who has time to be courteous? I do have a chapter in there on our work ethics and integrity, for the workplace. And yes, they are. And that's kind of a little bit what we were talking about too, when we're talking about inappropriate, what is appropriate and what is inappropriate, and honesty and things of that nature. In addition, we talk about grooming as far as interviewing skills. What else is covered in the book is networking. What are some key tips to networking and interacting with others, especially when you don't know them, you're just meeting them for the first time? When you were talking about, you were sitting in the meeting with the with the lady, with the mother, with the child, just having their own meeting with their electronic. What I thought about is I attended a conference once, and I talk about this in the book. And the book, a lot of times people think etiquette is like so humdrum. It's like, oh man, I already know how to do this. But it's not. It really isn't. And I have some little funny stories in there that are really true. But this particular one, I was at a conference, and it was a parenting conference. I have for years would present workshops on teaching and reinforcing social skills at home for parents. So we were, I can't remember where we were, in a large ballroom for lunch afterwards. And there were two people, it was a wonderful keynote speaker, and there were some people that just kept talking to each other. I mean, they just kept talking loud. And I'm thinking, okay, so obviously they think no one can hear them. And then, finally I had to turn around and, just kind of say something. Oh, and they were so surprised, like, oh, you all can hear us? Yeah. And another situation at a conference was we were at a banquet, and there was one lady there. I guess she was really hungry because there were beautiful cookies on this beautiful platter, and she took it upon herself to get a couple. Now, we were seated in rounds of 8, so there were enough for one for everyone, but I guess she was hungry, so she took a couple first. And, people are kind of looking at her. And then after that, she asked other people, did they want one? I'm thinking, wow, how kind of her to do that, right? To share the others. But things like that, people just, they don't know, I guess. They just don't know.
Yeah, and I think it is partly ignorance or the lack of knowledge. And one key thing that, in my years of, going to different events and being in different settings, being in different types of workplaces, is a lot of times beyond training and reading books, you can actually learn etiquette by watching other people.
That's right.
And being cognizant of what the culture is. For example, being a student and going to a conference of college students and going to a conference for the first time, you get your plate at the luncheon and you start eating, but then you notice that everybody's waiting until everybody receives their plate before they begin eating. So little things like that, and you can, just watch. That's just one thing I can talk about, but but there are a lot of things
Yeah.
that I've learned about etiquette just by watching.
Yeah.
And so that's a recommendation that I would give to anybody, is that see what's going on in the setting, see how people act and react to one another, how they carry themselves, what they do. That really, really is a teaching moment as well. So tell us, what impact do you want to make in the realm of etiquette, and how would our audience get in touch with you if they're interested in your book or interested in your training?
Mhm. Sure. The main impact that I would like to make is for people to really just be kind and polite to each other. Okay. And as you interact, just be thoughtful and considerate, which is so important. It makes such a huge difference. If you're just being polite to someone in the business arena. And you could contact me via email. It's Ms. Donna Speaks at gmail.com. That's MS, and then Donna Speaks, like we're speaking now, with an S, at gmail.com. Also, I am on LinkedIn as well, Donna Paige Riley. And my book is called What is Business Etiquette Anyway? And that is available on Amazon, as well as courteouspublications.com. And I think I answered all of the questions, I believe, right? Okay.
Yes. So any final comments you like to make to our audience regarding etiquette?
Sure. If you hear someone just mention the word etiquette, don't become defensive, because oftentimes we can become defensive because we feel as though someone is telling us that we're doing something wrong, but it's not necessarily the case. Just think about it as, well, actually, to accept etiquette is to be humble. So you have to really be humble to be able to accept it. But just simply think of it as common courtesies and knowing what to do and what to say and how you're actually going to interact and impact others, because others will have the tendency to remember how you made them feel other than what you actually did. Okay, so you want to impact others so that they can, think about you in a good way. So, if I had my way, I just want to make the world a polite place to live. And I know that we can only do that one person at a time, with each of us initiating acts of kindness to one another.
So I have Donna Paige Riley here with me today. So Donna, what school or schools did you attend? What were your majors and degrees? And tell us, what strategy would you have to give students to ensure that they're successful in college?
During high school, I actually began taking college courses. I took a radio and TV college course during high school. So it was a little tough and challenging, but it was for radio and TV, which was really exciting for me. So, and then I went on to continue studying at Indiana University, Purdue University in Indianapolis, and for communications and theater as well. And I would say just be focused, really be focused on what it is you want to do. Oftentimes people will say focus on one thing. Now, I'm not going to say focus on one thing, because I didn't. I was interested in the radio news broadcasting, and then I had attended the Charman Modeling School, so I did some training there, and I did modeling there. So I was doing several different things. But if you can just be focused on the things that you are doing, then you will just keep going. You're going to have some obstacles, but look at them as stepping stones and just continue going. and you will be fine.
Love that advice. Be focused. Use your obstacles as stepping stones, and just keep moving forward. Thank you so much, Donna. We appreciate you.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
A special thank you to the incredible team of the Empowerment Zone. Terry Ann Gully, theme song. NADWorks, digital support, and of course, our featured guest.